Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general mid-month reading for the sign of Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant for the last 2 weeks of January. I hope that you are well. I'm using the Tarot of the Abyss for you today. If you celebrated Christmas, then I hope you had a good one. And thank you for waiting for me. I know you are last. It wasn't intentional. It's just I think my schedule's all gone a bit chaotic again. Trying to be quite disciplined with it, but you got left to the end. Know that it's not because I don't love you as much as everybody else, because I do. Shut the fucking window. Right, so you know how this works. I'm not going to go through the mid-months. We've been doing it for long enough now so you know what we're looking for. So can I have 3 cards for Sagittarius' current energy, please? There we go. So we have the Emperor, we have the Hermit, and we have the 2 of Pentacles. And it strikes me here that just straight from the off, what have we got down here? We've got the Queen of Wands, that's Aries energy. There's a lot of fire here. Well, there's more fire than anything else, let's put it that way. The Emperor is a card of well, for the want of a better phrase, getting your shit together, right? It's a card of strategy, it's a card of planning, it's a card of stepping up. And there seems to have been some sort of huge step up for you, Sagittarius. Whether or not it is translating into your external world at this time, because it might not, but certainly in terms of the way that you feel internally, something has shifted since the last time that we spoke, and there's a sense of you having grown into yourself a little bit in a way that you didn't ever think was quite possible for you. Now, I am going to pull an extra card or 2 on this because I'm just, you know, increasing incredibly nosy. Oh, and I'm struck by the fact it's the Night Sun Tarot that I've picked up to clarify, which is really quite interesting, because this is quite a spiritually dense deck, and so it does suggest that what you have experienced recently, this leveling up that it feels like you've done in some way, is spiritually related. Maybe you've had somewhat of an awakening over Christmas, maybe you've had some really intense spiritual downloads, something like that, but there's a shift and there's a change, and you've grown. I can feel the growth here, just standing a little taller and a little prouder and a little straighter than you did before. Now we've got this Virgo card here of the Hermit, and that's not traditionally an energy that sits terribly well with you, except that, you know, I've lost track of all of the times where I've said, you know, all the tools you need to grow are in the places that you don't want to look. And for Sagittarians, quite often, quite commonly, that was about going within. I didn't want to go within, wanted to go without, wanted to go, you know, not without a thing, but, you know, without themselves. You know, this is where your reputation for hedonism and all that sort of thing comes from, because it's about seeking the company and the experience of other things outside of yourself. But with this Hermit card, it seems like you've spent some time within, and the things that you found there, it strikes me, has surprised you somewhat. I mean, the last card that we've got here is the 2 of Pentacles, and that is a card of drawing a sense of balance to your internal space here. You know, maybe you realized the ways that you were unstable and imbalanced were not what you thought they were, and actually they're an incredibly easy fix in some ways. I mean, a lot of this stuff kind of sounds like it's easy, but it's not, unless you're in the right kind of mind, you know, frame of mind to be able to make those changes. And then suddenly it's just like, why didn't I do this, I know, 6 months ago or 6 years ago, you know, something like that. Let me pull some extra cards to make that the Emperor, please. Ace of Wands. Thank you. Yeah, we've got the 5 of Cups, the Queen of Cups, and the 8 of Pentacles to clarify the Hermit, which makes all sorts of sense too. Tell me about this 2 of Pentacles, please. Thank you. We've got the Page of Swords. Wow, big step up. Let me just get one more for the Emperor. Let's see if there's anything here. Oh, the fuck? What the fuck, Sagittarius? This is. Do you know, I'm trying to think of some sort of simile for what I'm seeing here, and this is almost like you spent an entire semester at university, like down the pub playing pool. I'll be getting stoned in a friend's fucking garage somewhere, right? And then in the last week before your exams, you just crammed loads of stuff, filled your mind, and then you've gone to the exams and you've just aced everything, and everybody's like, what the fuck, you haven't even been here for, like an entire fucking, semester, say an entire fucking year, like how the fuck have you done this? The Emperor card here, right, it's a card of Aries, and it is everything that I've said, right, and that growth and that stepping up is, what we associate here with this. But I mean, look at this. You got the Ace of Wands and you've got the Fool. Now that's Aries too there. The Ace, it doesn't have a strict astrological correspondence, but the way that I see the fire sign elements is that the Aries is the spark, it's the initiating kind of push, initiating passion and drive. Leo is about creating the foundation for that, right? So it's the difference between a match and a warm open fire, right? Something that's warming the house. There's that very fixed sign energy of stability, right? And then there's Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is like the wildfire. It's completely unpredictable, and it just does its thing, and it can be incredibly destructive when it is not used effectively. But what this is saying to me here is that you are using it effectively. It's a fire element card because it's Aries, right? But the Emperor is the King of Kings. He contains all the characteristics of all of the kings that sit in the minor arcana below him, right? He's got all of that wisdom and knowledge from all of those kings and all of those experiences and perspectives that they experience life in, and it all sits in here. And now this Emperor has a fucking empire to rule, right? He is, by definition, going to be a fairly big character, right? Because he needs to be taken seriously by everybody that he's who resides in his empire. But here, got more Aries energy. It feels like you've had a total, like, new lease of life just happen at you. Right? It's almost like colours are brighter, and they've always been pretty bright for you anyway, Sagittarius, because you live, everything's in glorious technicolor, but it's even more so now. There's a determination and a drive here, and there's also trust. It's, have you learned to trust yourself all of a sudden, Sagittarius? Because that's what it feels like here. But this new lease of life that seems to have been unveiled to you, it's not seeing you ping off in a particular direction at the moment, right? Although there is movement implied by the Fool, right? This Emperor is quite static at the moment. He's sat in his throne. We are in the planning stages. We are in this is how I want my life to go. It's like you're actually taking the time to sit with this here, Sag, and it's not like I'm just going to keep careering into experiences and see what happens, which is quite a Sagittarian thing to do, and it's one of the reasons why people either love you or hate you. But there's structure coming in here. There's the balance is coming in here with this Two of Pentacles. It's like claiming your strengths, claiming the gold in your shadow, that which quite likely, I know for a lot of you, some of you, well, for quite a few of you were in relationships of some sort with Virgos, whether they were friends or partners or spouses or whatever it was. And the byproduct of that was that a lot of what I would consider to be your strength, what's the best way to put this? it was made out to be a weakness because it was so very different to the Virgo experience, right? And it was like, why are you not consistent? Why are you not reliable? Why don't you jump, you know, when I say jump? Why don't you say how high when I say jump? You know, that kind of thing. And that was quite difficult for a lot of Sagittarians to deal with. And ultimately, it ended up with a pulling away from that. It was just like the relentless kind of criticism that was going on. But there's something here. I don't think you've necessarily learned it from the Virgo, but because it's the Virgo energy, it's like that experience that you had with Virgo, for those of you who did have an experience with Virgo, has led you gradually to where you are right now. And I don't think that any of you would change where you are right now. Because it has been about kind of retreating somewhat into your cave, and it's like, instead of paying attention to what is going on outside of you, instead of, you know, seeking companionship and new people to keep everything, you know, alive and zinging all the time, right? It's quite a zoomy energy about Sagittarius. It's sort of like, okay, I'm going to take a few steps back and I'm going to have a look around and see what it looks like inside my cave, the cave of my own mind, the cave of my psyche. And what you found there was what we had thought for a while might be there. We've got the Five of Cups, we've got a sense of loss, we've got a sense of abandonment. There's a kind of quite a furtive energy here about this Five of Cups. It's grief. And I'm sure there were times where I said to you last year, Sagittarius, there was something trying to rise in you and it felt like grief. And this is long repressed, but it's come up to the surface. And with this Queen of Cups here, there's an acceptance of it. It's like, I'm not going to try and run away from it anymore. I'm going to see it for what it is and appreciate it for the lessons that it has given me. You know, the Queen of Cups in the Night Sun Tarot, I think, is the only depiction of the Queen of Cups that I've got across all the tarot decks that I own. And I own a few, right? Not going to lie. I'm a Leo. I like pretty tarot decks. Where she's pregnant. I can't think of another deck that I own where she's depicted as pregnant. This is the birth of a new kind of emotional understanding in you. I mean, for some of you, it's going to be the appreciation that actually you are really quite sensitive souls. And that is something that has been missed by most of the people that have been around you for most of your life. But most importantly, it was missed by you. It was not appreciated by you, you know. In common with some other signs, you know, things of an emotional nature just always seem to be a little bit messy and a little bit, you know, dangerous. And so the furtive energy of this Five of Cups speaks both to your avoidance of it up until this point, but also how it hasn't gone away. It's always been sneaking around in your psyche, but now it is here. Now you have seen it. You're prepared to birth a new way of emotionally experiencing the world, and in the first instance, that it's allowing your emotions to actually be present in any kind of way, to be considered in any kind of way. So we've got this Two of Pentacles here, that balance. And let's not forget, right, the Major Arcana card for Sagittarius, somewhat confusingly when you first start to learn tarot, is the Temperance card. It is all about temperance and moderation and balance. And how different is that to what, you know, we are led to believe the Sagittarian energy is. Now, I feel like this is the lesson that Sagittarius is here to learn. So not everything has to be done to extremes, but for Sagittarius, you must experience life at the extremes before you can work out where that middle point is, where that point of temperance and moderation sits. It's always about pushing the limits, and you have pushed your limits in many different directions, in many different ways. Certainly in your youth, you know, it's been about, what can I do? How can I keep pushing this further and further and further out? And as you've experienced all that and you've got older and you're wiser, now that middle road, that's the aim of temperance. That's the life purpose of Sagittarian, one of them, because you don't have just one, you have many, and they come in at different points. You know, that is what your soul is here to learn. And it's really kicked up a notch with you. Now you get it in a way that you didn't get before. What do we have here? The Eight of Pentacles and the Page of Swords. There's a willingness to learn things now. You know, there's a shift in the way that you see the world, and we often, you know, absolutely see that here with the Page of Swords. But more than that, there is a willingness to learn and expand your own horizons, but in a different way to the way that you have done before, because this way requires commitment. And that's been something that at times has been in kind of short supply with you. You know, there might be examples of where you have been committed to something, but it's been something that's kept you kind of on the edge of your mental seat, as it were. Like it needed you to pay attention to it. Otherwise it was just, you know, you weren't going to be able to achieve what it was that you wanted to achieve. And, you know, with it being you, it might have been something physical, you know, the mastery of some sort of physical pursuit. But this is not wands. This is pentacles and this is swords. This is a different kind of approach, Sagittarius, that you are taking to life. And so you are opening up to all sorts of different ways of doing things. And it feels like you're cramming your head, absolutely cramming your head, full of new information. We've got the Two of Cups is sitting as the shadow card at the bottom of the deck here, and this is about relationships, right? And, you know, obviously it's two people, two cups, one heart and all that kind of thing. But this feels like it's completely revolutionized the way that you show up in relationships too, because this card for me, when you dig a little bit deeper, it's not just about your one-to-one relationships, it's about intimacy and the way that you allow yourself to experience it, because I think it's changed. I think it's very, very different. I think that what you want from a relationship has changed dramatically. And, you know, what you're prepared to accept has changed too. You know, you've developed some boundaries, but they feel like they're in the right place now. Interestingly enough, we have the Magician card underneath here. Now that association is either Gemini, it's Gemini for me, or Virgo. Some other people see it as Virgo. But there's this odd kind of sideways association that I always have with Sagittarius for this, right? There's something very shamanic. Well, there is, right? The Magician is quite a shamanic archetype, but there's something that kind of touches Sagittarius with that. You know, you are really good manifestors, but you're manifesting difference now. You're manifesting something altogether more mature and more fulfilling than what you've gone after before. And well, dare I say it, Sag, you've got some standards now, you know. I love this for you. This is incredible. This is really good. Tell me about the lesson here for Sagittarius. What is the perspective? What was the point of all of this? Right, yeah. Ooh, double sevens. There we go. We've got the star. One more, please. We've got the lovers. This is awesome. There's the Page of Swords again at the bottom of the deck, right? But the cards you've got here, in the first instance, we've got the Seven of Wands and we've got the Seven of Swords. Now, this is changing the way that you take risks, right? Sagittarius is associated with taking pretty hefty risks. Like I said, it's kind of like a byproduct of living life at extremes, is that there is risk taking associated with all of this. But it's changing the nature of the risk taking that you're getting, because, you know, if this card were this way round, this would be a very different kind of message, but it's not. It's here. Now, this energy here is of defense, being defensive often, right? This way round, it's about dropping your defenses, knowing where they're not necessary anymore. And some of that might be with the one-to-one relationships that you have. It might be with the world at large. But most importantly, it's about the relationship that you have with yourself. Those bits of you that you have walled off in the past because you didn't want to engage with them are now open to you. And there's a whole rich seam of gold in there that you had not appreciated about yourself before this point. I mean, this reads a lot like you either had a massive fucking spiritual awakening or you've done some really profound shadow work since the last time that we spoke. because you don't feel attacked anymore. You don't feel like you need to run away. You don't feel to me like you need to build up walls. And again, you know, the purpose of shadow work, and I haven't actually finished that series. There is another video to come. I'm working on it at the moment, but I'm just flat out with everything else. On you know, the act of shadow work, but it also like you've pipped me to the post a little bit here, because you're doing it already. You have done it already. And so this risk taking here, you know, whatever he's up to there, there's an implied risk. But if he was going about it in, you know, a way that Sagittarius may have gone about it 10 years ago, 20 years ago, he'd have just barreled straight out of that fucking room, and it'd just be all guns blazing or swords swinging and stuff like this. There's a cautiousness here that is implied, which is not to say that you've lost your courage or your boldness or anything like that. It's just that there is now forethought going into things, right? Taking a risk is not the same as being reckless, and you've learned the difference between the two. And more than that, because you're not fighting the whole world all the time, you don't feel like you're, you know, constantly under attack from the entire planet. You can pick and choose your moves a little bit more smartly than you have been doing before, right? It's working smarter, not harder. This is a really important lesson that you've learned, because this is the other thing, it's not reactive, right? That's reactive there. That character there is under attack right there. Invisible assailants we've got going on, right? They're under attack, and you need to respond, or otherwise you get pummeled with the fucking sticks, right? This is an understanding that you are not under attack. And even if you were, you're big enough to take it. And so now you can plan your moves moving forward. You can plan your risks a little bit more. And the likelihood of them paying off in a better way is greatly increased. We've got the Star card. And I love this on all sorts of levels because of all of the things that the Star card represents. So it's a feminine card. And it's a feminine card of healing. And I feel like a lot of you have got in touch with your emotions and your feminine side a lot more than you were. But it's also a card that speaks of really deep connection, right? Again, we're seeing that improved dramatically because intimacy is okay for you now. You know you can deal with that. That's all right. But I feel like you're looking for something deeper now. You know? You have a better idea of what it is that you want now than you ever had before. And correspondingly, you are much more able to achieve that, right? You know, when you understand what it is properly, rather than careering from one thing to another, you can take those steps. It's a massive card of healing too, and hope for the future. There's a lot that's changed with you here, Sagittarius. The last card that we've got is the Lover's card, another card that speaks about union and harmony, which is something actually that's really, really important to Sagittarians. But that's not the harmony that comes from being conflict avoidant. It's not the harmony that comes from going, fuck this, I can't be asked to argue with you. I just want things to be easier. It's the harmony that comes from not being reactive, you know, not feeling attacked. It's like you can show up exactly as you are. And we've got balance. We've got alignment here between the two things. It's a card of conscious co-creation and manifestation too. The second of two cards in the tarot that speak about manifestation, and you've got them both. This is you stepping into who you are and stepping into alignment with your soul purpose, your life purpose, you know, the environment around you. It's an incredibly strong reading here, Sagittarius. I don't know what the fuck you've done, but I applaud it. I really do, because this is transformative stuff. And it's not, it doesn't feel like it's come by way of external circumstances. There might have been some sort of catalyzing event that caused you to do this, but ultimately you're the one that did the work. you know, and maybe that, whatever that situation was, it was put right in front of you because now was the time for activation. Now you finally would get it. I love it. So let's get you some cards of advice, although I have to say it feels like a rather moot activity. Rather pointless, because you do seem to have things in hand. Can I have some cards of advice for Sagittarius, please? There we go. You've got the Four of Cups in reverse. We have the King of Cups in the upright, and we have the Knight of Wands, interestingly, appearing in the reverse. So the Four of Cups in reverse is pretty fucking obvious to me, because this way around it speaks about being taken for granted. It speaks about being rejected or doing the rejecting, which you will have done your fair share of over the years, Sagittarius, whether you realised it or not at the time. When it comes up in the reverse, it's about gratitude. It's about really profound gratitude, and it's about a lack of concern about being rejected, because you have embraced yourself. You do not need the validation of external characters to tell you that you are wanted and that you are needed, because it's coming from you. It's emanating from the self. You know, I read a book once. It was actually recommended to me by Ditch Witch Tarot on YouTube, and it had 7 words, absolutely changed my fucking life, and it was proceed as if you are needed. Like, and that spoke to my soul at exactly the time that I needed to hear it, right? It's about, just like we see with the Fool there, just kind of putting one foot in front of the other and proceeding as if it was important that you were here, that it was important that everything that you do has a consequence somewhere. And I needed that kick up the backside. The book was called Anne Carrow Gwyn, if anybody's interested in reading it, and it's all about the fairy faith. It's a cool as fuck book. So continue on with what you're doing, because the more you give out and the more you allow in, the more will come. You know, it's about the way that gratitude amplifies your blessings. King of Cups here, you know, continue with the process of allowing your emotions to have a bit more of a say in what it is that you do. You know, this although you've leapt many levels, it looks to me, with what you have taken upon yourself to do here, it's a never-ending process. So don't assume that the work is done, right? What you've done now is kick down some doors that were keeping parts of you at bay, but there will be more things that come up, and the more that you allow this fluid dialogue between these bits of yourself to come through, the more that you will learn, and the bigger that you will grow. It's still going, and it's still going. And this Knight of Wands is quite interesting, because, you know, that way around, it's about being that entirely present. But for you, it seems like a little bit of planning for the future would go a very, very long way here. Now, it's not like we had some sort of earth sign representation of the level of planning that is required here. That's not something that would suit you, but just a little bit of thought about, you know, we're still in January, like how you want the rest of the year to go. I think there are going to be some quite profound twists and turns over the course of this year globally. But having some idea of the people that you want around you, what it is that you want to do, what it is that you want to achieve, perhaps what it is that you want to help others achieve, would be a really, really useful thing for you, rather than just bouncing from minute to minute, because you're kind of a little bit beyond that now. Just have a little think about how you want it to go, because, I mean, your manifestation powers have always been really good, but they do seem to be amplified at this moment. So, you know, we stick some intent out there and see what comes back to you, because I think you'll find it. I think you'll surprise yourself with your abilities at this time. So, apologies again. And gratitude again for your patience and waiting for me while I got this video out. I hope that it was worth it. I feel like it's worth it. I'm really impressed with what I'm seeing here. Yeah, and thank you for waiting for me over December as well. The shadow videos, the Solvia Coagula series was really important to me, and I felt like I could not say another word on YouTube until I had got out all of that was sitting there. And that was 2 years I've been waiting to make those videos. And like I said, still haven't actually finished yet. There is a third to come, and a fourth if you're on Patreon. But they should be coming in the next couple of weeks, so just stay patient with me. A friendly neighbourhood Leo and all that. So know that I love you all very, very much, and I will see you soon.